Let me ask you a question. You're entering into something that you've never experienced before. This is something brand new to you. Who would you ask for advice? Would you ask someone that has never done it, but they seem to have some good advice about it? Or would you ask someone that has experienced it and has actually come out on the other side of it? This is a question that a lot of people are faced with, and you'd be surprised at the answer that they choose. So let's talk about it. Thank you so much for joining my channel, Ask Lois the Relatable Therapist. My name is Lois Goodall, and this channel is all about positive relationships, encouraging positive relationships. And I get my inspiration from reality TV, real life events, or anything that I think that's going to help me help you to have those positive relationships. I came across this on the internet, and it was 2 years ago, and it was the Strawberry Letter with Martell Holt. So you can go there and look it up and listen to the advice that Steve Harvey gave him. And we're going to talk about that today. But before we get started, let's go ahead. I'm so excited. I'm so happy with myself that I finally put my disclaimer on a slide and I don't have to keep reading it. This video is protected under the Fair Use Act, under Section 107. And so everything that I talk about today is alleged and it is my opinion. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. And so let me put the people up that we're talking about. This is Steve Harvey. Many of you may know him. And this is Martell Holt. A lot of you probably know him too. And Martell reached out a couple years ago on the Steve Harvey Strawberry Letter because he wanted advice on how to move on. He told Steve that his relationship with his ex-wife, Melody, it was finalized a month ago, and he wanted to know how to move on. This is the first time that I actually heard Martell look like he halfway wanted to be apologetic about what went on. And so as I was listening to what Martell was telling him, and the first thing Steve asked him was, because Steve said he had never saw Love and Marriage Huntsville, so he didn't even know what was going on. And he asked Martell, if you could look back on it, if you could do anything different, what would it have been? And Martell said, you know what? I think I was a little greedy, not trying to take responsibility. And it surprised me because the first thing I thought would have been out of his mouth is, you know what? I would have never had that affair, because he keeps talking about how he messed up his family, how he wanted his family. And to me, that's what I thought he would have said, but that's just me. That's not him. And so, and then he said that if he could do anything different, he would have communicated with Melody what it was that he was complaining about. And I guess had he communicated with her and things changed, maybe he wouldn't have stepped out. Maybe that was what he was trying to say. I don't know. But one of the things that one of the commentators was talking about, they said a lot of the women were upset with Martell because they connected with that he had hurt Melody. And that's true. A lot of women, they have been through hurts, whether if you were in a marriage or if you were in a relationship. A lot of women have went through hurt with the male. And the truth of the matter is men go through the same thing, that they've been hurt by women. But most women, they say it, men don't really say it. And so they were saying that they related to how Melody felt. And that's why they were still so hostile with him, is because he came across as this was like, yeah, I did it. Oh, well. And so Martell was saying that he said that because, first of all, he didn't want it to come out. And of course, he lied. So that's the first time he said, from what I heard, that he lied about the whole situation. So that was good to realize that, you know what, he did realize that he was lying the whole time to try to cover it up. And so the next thing, Steve asked him how long had this been going on, and he said he stepped out on Melody for a year before she found out. And the thing is, he said that she took him back after she found out she had stepped out on him, and the baby didn't come to 5 years later. So I know in one of my YouTube videos, someone had made the remark that if Martell wasn't on reality TV, that the marriage probably would have survived. And one of the things that Steve Harvey said, that the quickest way to end your relationship is get on reality TV, because there's a lot of people in the comments, and social media, sometimes it drives things quicker. Sometimes social media, it causes things to happen. It causes you to sit down and think about, oh, they said this and they said that about me. So it's a lot of people's opinion. And I know a lot of people don't really subscribe to this, but because Melody had taken him back before, maybe the marriage would have lasted if it hadn't been on social media. But I think that when that baby came, that was like there was no turning back, because there's nothing they could do about the baby. The baby was here, and the baby was a constant reminder of what had happened in the relationship. But one thing that Steve said, and I respected him for that. He said, every man knows this story that Martell is saying. Can't fix what's wrong in your house by stepping outside your house. And that's what he said a lot of men do. Sometimes they try to fix what's wrong in their relationship by moving on to another relationship instead of resolving that. And he was telling Martell, a lot of men have done that. And Steve said he's done it. And some of you that have followed Steve's story, Steve Harvey, how he was married before and how he stepped out on his wife. And, his wife had this whole YouTube dialogue going for years and what was going on. So he really understood what Martell was going through. But one thing he told Martell, and this is where the question comes in, is do you think he gave Martell good advice? He told Martell that in the court of public opinion, the women are always going to hate him because the women connect to what Melody felt. And he said, the one thing that you have to do is, he says, you have to give closure. He said, you've done this in public. You've humiliated her in public, and you have to apologize in public. You have to restore her, not yourself, but restore her. And that's one thing that I thought that, that was good advice for him to say, you need to restore her in public. Now, she's not going to forgive you. He said she's not going to forgive you, but he was saying that you really needed to let her know that you really apologize in public. And Steve said one thing that men do, they try to justify what they did by talking about what the woman didn't do, as if that absolves them of what they did. And I'm glad to see that he was talking to Martell, a man to a man, because sometimes women will say that, but men won't listen. But when another man tells them, it's like it's coming from the man's point of view, the man's perspective, the man's experience, and you got to accept that. The next thing Steve told him was that you have to endure some suffering. Letting him know it's going to take a while, because the public opinion, the court of public opinion, they're siding with Melody. They're feeling her pain. They're feeling her hurt. And so I thought about that, and I said, he gave him some good advice, but Martell didn't follow it. He said, first of all, to apologize. If you apologize to somebody, you don't keep doing it. So he apologized on the strawberry letter. Martell apologized. But then, as you can see, 2 years later, he's still saying and doing things in the social media. So it did no good for you to apologize, because you're still doing it. And that's the difference, is why you haven't moved past. Because when he got on, he said he wanted to figure out how to move past what's going on. He can't move past, because whoever he's listening to, telling him to keep getting on there, fighting her through social media, you're not going to win. Because the court of public opinion is against you, and you're jumping on social media. That's a public opinion. And the women, because men are not too much getting on there. There are some that, but not as many as women. You're not going to win. So the advice he gave Martell to apologize, he meant for him to apologize and stop, not apologize and then just start doing something else. So I don't know who he's listening to. Whoever he's listening to is not giving him good advice, because he just keeps jumping on, trying to defend himself. And Steve told him, you can't defend yourself. You can't defend yourself because you were wrong. You can't defend yourself about saying what she did. It's all about what you did. And then Steve told him, you have to realize that there's going to be a degree of suffering, which means that you're going to have to take this. He told him, you have to take this. Again, Martell's not listening. He's not taking any of it. Suffer in silence. Just because she says something, everybody has their own journey of healing. And I said it before in another one of my videos. Her journey of healing was, she made a song, she talked about it, she had a workshop. That's her journey of healing. Allow her to have that journey. Sit back. Don't say anything. You don't always have to defend yourself, because first of all, it's not working out for you. It's not working well for you. I'm just telling you. That was 2 years ago when he said that, oh, we just divorced. And now that y'all been 3 years divorced, and it's still on social media as if it happened yesterday, because you need to just step back and just be quiet about it. You're not going to change people's opinion about you because it's too many women that have been hurt, too many men that have been hurt, and they can relate to that. You continue to get on social media. That is like the courts. That's like the court of public opinion. And that's why you keep on getting all of this. He got on the strawberry letter saying, I want to be able to move past this, but he didn't listen to the person. And one thing Steve Harvey was saying, and I totally agree with this, and I've said it over and over, if you want advice on something, you don't ask people that have not been through anything. Martell said he had a therapist that had been married for 35 years. Why would you ask him about divorce? He doesn't understand about divorce. Tell you what the theories are and what should happen, but until you go through some things, you just don't know. And Steve was telling him, if you want to know how to do something, you go to someone that has done it and has survived and has come out on the top. And so I'm going to connect this to real life because a lot of people are going through situations where they don't know what to do. And they're asking people that have never walked that journey, that have never been the route that they're trying to take. And then they're listening to their advice because some people sound good. Some people have the gift of gab. Some people, they talk really not. But if they've never been through it, they can only take you so far. I wish Martell had a continued trying to get advice from Steve Harvey. Now, I'm not saying he's the best, but sometimes when people go through things and they realize their mistakes, they can help someone else not make those same mistakes because we know Steve made a lot of mistakes and he admits he made some mistakes. But I wished Martell had a continued to find a mentor, someone that could help him, because one of the first things he would have told him, stop talking, get off social media, put your site down, close it, get off Twitter and Instagram and wherever else you are. He would have told him, because that's the only way you're going to resist the temptation to write something. For those of you that are in situations, find people that have actually went through that situation, and not just went through it, but they've come out on top, that they've learned through it. We have too many people following advice from people that don't know what they're doing, and they're making it worse. This situation with Martell, it to me, it's worse now than it was when it first started, because he constantly stays on social media trying to defend himself, trying to defend the woman that he's with. Just get off. It happened. Like Steve said, you can't undo what's been done. You can't undo it. And all this talking that you're doing is not helping. Sometimes people think that they can change something. Once it's out there, there's nothing you can do but just sit back and just let it pass. Again, you may not like Steve Harvey. You may not like a lot of things he's done, but sometimes you have to you eat the fish and spit out the bones. When I think about Steve Harvey, sometimes it's like eating the fish and spitting out the bone. Some things he says is good. Some things is like, I don't know about that. But what he told Martell was absolutely right, to give her a public apology and to realize that he had to have some suffering. He gave her a public apology, but he didn't get off the social media. And also, he wouldn't let any suffering happen. He wouldn't go through the suffering. He just continues, and even now he continues. Take a page out of Steve Harvey's book. Realize that when you've done wrong, you have to go through some suffering when you've done wrong. When you've done something that wasn't right, you're going to have to suffer some. But if you suffer in silence, instead of trying to push your way and trying to defend yourself, I learned that years ago, that the more you try to defend yourself, sometimes the more guilty that you look. So sometimes you just got to let people think what they want to think. I want to hear your comments, especially those of you who've heard the Strawberry Letter interview, the podcast. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are, because I want to get a conversation going about, do you think Steve Harvey gave him good advice about giving her a public apology and then just taking some and knowing that you're going to have to suffer some? Or do you think he should have gave him something else? I think he should have told him also to get off of social media. But again, Steve said he don't follow that, so he didn't know what he was doing. This is the first he had heard about Martell, and since he came on the Strawberry Letter, he was going to give him some advice. So let's go ahead and talk about and keep the conversation going in the comments. And here's another video that I actually did. I think this is one with Curtis and Jackie. Go ahead and look at it, because I kind of compare Curtis and Martell a little bit.